What's going on, everybody? So today I want to do a Diablo 3 leveling tier list, and what this means is it's not a tier list for pushing grade rifts, not a tier list for how good a class is going to be in a week from now, 2 weeks into the game, etc., etc. Not rating any of the builds, kind of rating the leveling builds, but we're talking about how fast, how easy, and how fun, as well as course, how insane some of these classes are for season 28 leveling, to help you guys maybe decide what you might want to go with for leveling. Because I've had a lot of people talk about, I'm not quite sure who to go with. Necromancer seems absolutely insane. Maybe I just pick up a Necromancer and blast through it. Let me be clear, guys. Even in the D tier, we're looking at like maybe 40, 45 minutes, 50 minutes on average. That's the longest it's gonna take with cash, and that's being very generous. You could oftentimes do a lot faster. Obviously, I think everyone knows Necromancer is gonna be the top, and we're looking at potentially around, on average, 25 to 30 minutes. I know people have done it in like 15, 20 minutes. That is being lucky, you know, when you're running through and you're doing Zoltan Cool, or you're doing these bounties and you get it first try. That's not average. So when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about like the average time it takes, not the luckiest time it takes for each of these classes. So I got each of them down here. It's kind of hard to see them, so I apologize for that, but I will talk about them so you guys know which ones I'm talking about. Timestamps in the description down below if you guys want to check them out. Let's start off with the Necromancer. He is going to be an S tier. And actually, because of how much better the Necro is compared to everyone, there's literally going to be 0 A tier. Because I wanted to distinguish how much better Necro is, how easy it is, and how fun it is to run with a Necro. Now, there's a couple parts to the season 28 leveling process, right? We have the beginning part, which is getting to level 18. And then once you get to level 18, you craft your level 70 gear. And basically everyone's overpowered and they all just cruise through. The thing with a Necro is at level 4 you get corpse explosion, which is absolutely disgusting. This makes it so that you can just annihilate things without basically any costs. Death Nova later on is really, really solid as well. And then of course you have a lot of summons that you could go ahead and hide behind if you're a little scared and you might take some damage. But even the single target damage as well as the group damage is just super insane. Makes it very easy to keep up kill streaks because you can chain one kill into another, which makes them really strong. And the leveling process is going to be super, super quick, super easy. You're just going to go straight to level 18. You can go out and run into a temple, take advantage of the cockroaches and things like that, and just absolutely annihilate everything in your path. This is definitely the class I've personally played the most, and I will be playing on launch just because I really enjoy the Necro. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. I just started playing the Necro, and then as we started to experiment with some of these other classes, I just realized how disgusting the Necro is compared to everyone else. So that's definitely going to be the S tier here. Let's move on to the next one, and that is going to be the Monk. Honestly, maybe I shouldn't put nothing in the A tier. You know what? I'm going to put Monk in the A tier. I changed my mind here. I was not going to put anyone in the A tier because I feel like there was a big difference between Necro and the next one, but actually Monk does really, really well. There's a couple reasons why Monk does really, really well in the leveling process. Keep in mind, Necro doesn't really have any movement abilities. You can use like Blood Rush and things like that to go ahead and dash a little bit, but you don't generally have a really short cooldown for that. It doesn't, come up very often. It's just kind of awkward to use that skill. Also, it can damage you, and that potentially can be bad, although you can do some modifications for it. Enough about Necro. The point is, Monk, Mystic Strike, or rather a Dashing Strike, things like that are just so good for you to just chain through and keep up the kill streaks, and you can get that very early on. On top of that, once you get to, I think, the late 20s, you're going to get Mystic Allies Wave, the Wave Allies ability, where your allies just going to shoot waves everywhere. And when you have level 70 gear, that literally one-shots everything, so you just walk. You literally just walk and it kills everything. It makes it super insane after you hit level 18. Necro does do better in the early levels. Compared to every class, Necro does way better in the early levels. But Monk really keeps up the time later on once you get the gems, once you get level 70 gear, and you just start waving through everything. It's actually just super fun to watch. You just walk. It's literally that easy. You just summon your allies and you walk and it kills everything. It's super fun to see. Also, if you wanted to, you can use like Exploding Palm and AoE explode people down, but you really don't need to because again, Mystic Allies just kills everything for you. Monk's really actually quite good, and I think that honestly, I take back what I said earlier, and I think that he's good enough to end up in the A tier compared to the Necro. Next up, let's talk about the Wizard. This is another class that I've played actually quite a decent amount. Now, here's what's interesting about it. If I'm gonna put Monk in the A tier, I feel like Wizard probably shouldn't go into the B tier. But you know what? I'll put Wizard in the B tier for now. Wizard is quite a bit slower than the Monk. The thing with the Wizard is that their early leveling process is actually quite nice with the AoE explosion, as well as Ray of Frost, and actually later on you get Teleport and Disintegrate. So they actually have some really solid range on them and decent mobility, but honestly the laser beams, both Ray of Frost and Disintegrate, is what keeps it so high. AoE early on in the game to get you to that level 18 process makes it very, very easy to get to those gems, after which Monk shoots way forward above faster, but Wizard does keep up quite a bit in terms of teleport as well as just the damage that they're dealing. Wizard really benefits from going into Temple, whereas Monk might want to do a little bit less of the cockroach type style. Although, again, you could run anything you want because the stupid waves kill everything. It's pretty funny to watch, actually. But Wizard's actually quite solid. They are slower than the Monk, so keep that in mind, which is why they're going to end up in the B tier. Next one up, we have the Witch Doctor, and Witch Doctor is also going to go into the B tier for me. Witch Doctor, the pet classes do really, really well in general. But one thing, and this is something that you don't normally necessarily do because it doesn't do enough damage until later on. But because you have level 70 gear, you can actually run Locust Swarm and Pestilence, and it just kills everything. It just leaps. It kills everything. It's very, very quick, as well as like AoEs like Piranhas and things like that. But also the pets early on actually help you out quite a bit and just annihilate a lot of things. Again, AoE is kind of the name of the game here. Anything that can just kill everything as you walk past is just really, really good. Simply for the fact that you could just kill everything since you have level 70 gear. That's pretty much it. It only starts to slow down as you reach level 60 or so, and you could drop the difficulty then. But even then, you have like pets again for Necro. You have things like Wave of Light you could use for Monk, and for Necro, of course, you just continue to use Corpse Explosion and things like that. But Witch Doctor is a little bit slower than the Wizard, so I think they end up in the B tier. Next up, we have the, let's see here, Crusader. I would put Crusader in the C tier. Honestly, I might be underrating the Crusader a little bit. I could see them in the B tier as well. The thing with the Crusader is they actually have the hammers that spin around you, which actually do a ton of, again, damage. You can kill everything in one hit, so it doesn't matter. The problem is that the earlier on in the game, they do struggle a lot compared to some of these other range classes, or like the Monk, which has a lot of mobility decently early on in the game. But the Crusader does struggle a little bit on that 1 to 18 journey. Again, that's why the range classes are typically higher, although there is one exception. And you'll find that Crusader really pumps up once you get the hammers, once you get the horse, and once you get these types of skills on your bar. You're gonna find that Condemn plus hammers is a really powerful combo. You can pull in everyone even later on when you hit level 60s, and so you can actually kill stuff still with that combo. And they actually have quite a few mobility options, which I like the Crusader, but they are seemingly slower than these two classes. Let me know if you guys have experienced anything different with that. Next one, basically the Barb, I'm going to put them in C tier as well. They got things like Whirlwind Leap, things like that, Wrath of the Berserker that can go and increase their stats and stuff like that. But again, they are pretty struggling through that 1 to 18 process compared to Necro, Monk, Wizard, these types of things. They are struggling. They don't really struggle that hard. I don't think any class really struggles that hard, except for maybe one of them, which we're going to get to in just a second, compared to any other class. Except the Barb, again, has that mobility option, has the Whirlwind, has a few options to do a lot of damage and a lot of mobility. So I actually really like them, and they seem very comparable to the Crusader to me. Although, again, Crusader and Barb are the ones that I've tested the least. So if you guys have noticed any different, be sure to drop some comments down below. Give me some feedback. Let me know. The ones that I have played a little bit more, or a lot more, especially the Necro, Wizard, and Witch Doctor and Demon Hunter. I played these ones the most. The Monk here, I've played a solid amount as well. I've done pretty much all these classes, somewhat 1 to 70 with the cache, which again, it only takes like maximum amount of time, like 45 minutes. So it's very easy to tell. I can test all classes within like 6 hours of gameplay. It's very easy. Even less, because things like Necro can take like 25 minutes. It's very, very quick. Lastly, we have Demon Hunter. I want to put them in D tier. Call me crazy, guys. Call me crazy. Maybe you could swap these two, put Demon Hunter above them. But honestly, Demon Hunter, until you get the chakrams, it's so miserable. It's so miserable. You have the vaults, which allows you to vault all over the place, and you do have like the sentries that could be good in some scenarios. But honestly, guys, Demon Hunter just feels bad. They don't have as much AoE as these other classes is the big problem. And when you don't have a lot of AoE, especially early on, it's going to take you a long time to reach those later levels, specifically 18 to get you your diamonds. And then even after that, they don't really have a crazy amount of options, right? I don't even think you get multi-shot until level 21, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's a little bit later than that, but you just don't even have a lot of options for you to do a lot of damage, which makes it a little awkward. Demon Hunter is usually a class that I find to be one of the strongest classes, early season classes, so that you can actually power through greater rifts. They have some of the most easiest builds to go and get up and running and just power through things with like strafe and just running through stuff. They're actually one of the easiest farming classes, but honestly, the leveling process is honestly really, really atrocious compared to any other class on this list. And when you start comparing to things like Monk and Necro, it's just completely blown out of the water. However, one thing to note is one of the best ways to handle this, that's going to be the end of the list, by the way, guys, but one of the best ways, as my overall thoughts, to handle this is if you guys are just, I don't like the leveling process, I just want to get this done as quick as possible, or maybe you don't care for the leveling process, but you don't want to use a class that you don't like all the way to 70. You have two options. One, you can play one class all the way to 70 like Necro and just blast through it as fast as possible, which is one option. Or you could go ahead and get a class to 18, get your diamonds, get the altar upgrade, and then swap to a different class. And then you can start with level 70 gear from level 1. Now that is a strategy that I would highly recommend. Maybe I'll make a video about this. But for example, if you want to play Demon Hunter, you're not going to really have a ton of damage. You're not going to be able to burst things. But if you get to Necro, get to level 18 as quick as possible with Corpse Explosion, things like that. Get your diamonds, craft level 70 gear on the Demon Hunter. You can go to T6 and then immediately jump to like level 30 in the matter of seconds. And then you'll be totally fine, right? You'll have your AoE abilities and then you can actually play the game as Demon Hunter. And honestly, if you guys don't want to play another class, you really just think it's unfun, which is totally fine, pick Necro, run to level 18, get your diamonds, and then move over to your class that you want to play. That way you can get best of both worlds, right? You can get that early leveling process done that you don't like, and then you don't have to play the class that you don't like for long periods of time. It takes only about 10 to 15 minutes. On the Necro, on average, it takes about 10 minutes for you to get to level 18 for the average person, assuming you can go ahead and just keep up your kill streaks. If you can't keep up your kill streaks, it might take 15 minutes or so, which might be a little bit longer. But again, it's really not that long. And of course, if you get super unlucky with the bounties and get your diamonds, then maybe it'll take a little bit longer. But that's, again, on the unluckier side of things. So definitely consider that, guys. Use one of these top tier classes. Even, you know, honestly, I would suggest Necro or Wizard 1 to 18. I found them to be the easiest. And then if you want to swap to a different class and then use that as your 1 to 70, totally fine. But definitely, for example, if I were to go Demon Hunter, I would just not play Demon Hunter 1 to 70. I would just play Necro 1 to 70 or 1 to 18, get some early Paragon levels or get my diamonds, and then boom, transition over to Demon Hunter and then use my level 70 weapons from level 1, because the level 1 to 18 process is just so much worse than Necro. It's just so much worse. There's no other way to kind of say it, guys. It is just so much worse, so much slower, so much harder to do, and definitely requires a lot more thought process. So that's going to be the leveling tier list, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Again, if you guys have had any different experiences than I think the only ones that are kind of non-negotiable from what my experience has been is Necro and Monk. Again, those wave allies are just disgusting, and the Corpse Explosion early on comboed with things like Death Nova is just so powerful. I don't really see any other class approaching these two, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can approach the Monk. I really don't see you approaching the Necro, though. Any strategy that I've tried has not gotten close to the Necro. Necro is just so much better. It's just so much better. But there you go, guys. Let me know what your thoughts in the comment section down below. Again, if you guys have had any experience different to mine, I want to know, and I'll see you all tomorrow.